Knight's Kingdom presents Bounty, Episode 6, Unmasked. Amanda Waller and the ghost, who has just revealed his face, are standing inside of the briefing room of Belle Reve Prison. After seeing the ghost's true identity, Waller can't prevent herself from smiling.
I have to say, seeing your face is a tad disappointing for me because it essentially means that I fucked up. I'm not a big fan of that. Although, I'm surprised you haven't revealed yourself to Bloodsport yet. Oh, right. It would just be easier to call him your brother, isn't that right, Michael Dubois?
Michael Dubois has a stern look on his face and doesn't seem to be amused by anything that Waller is saying to him.
I suppose I owe Lex an apology. If I end up dying now, that actually saves me from having to do that.
Oh, don't worry. You're definitely going to be dying. Real fucking soon.
It makes sense you would be this unhappy with me. I did have you killed, after all. Still, it was Luther who asked me to kill you, so I'm curious as to why you aren't after him. Am I just first on your list?
Don't worry. That bald fuck will get what's coming to him too, when you're mistaken about something.
Oh?
Yeah, I'm fucking pissed that you tried to have me killed while I was already fighting in a war that I never expected to be fighting in. However, you and Luther took it a step further. You psychologically broke my brother and turned him into a psychotic killing machine. Hell, the reason his girlfriend and her daughter is dead is all because of you and Luther.
I'm surprised that you care about your brother so much. I mean, you had to fight in a war that you never planned on fighting in, all because your brother fled to Canada to avoid fighting in said war. I'd assume you'd be angry at your brother for this.
Sure, yeah, I was at first. Then I saw how fucked up and horrific war truly is, and I realized why my brother fled to Canada. If I knew the true horrors of war, then I probably would have fled to a different country too. What my brother did was cowardly. There's no mistake about that. But if I had known how fucked up war was before I got drafted, then I might have done the same thing.
Oh, I understand completely. It seems that both the Dubois brothers are cowards. Well, I guess that makes sense considering you two are brothers. Cowardice must run in the family,
Michael's trigger finger wraps around the trigger of the pistol that he's pointing at Waller's head.
You're lucky that I need you alive right now. Nothing would make me happier than to shut you up permanently.
Oh, you need me alive? What for?
The collars that you placed around my brother's neck and the necks of those others that are with him. I want you to deactivate them.
If I refuse?
You don't want to fucking find out. Trust me.
Waller smiles in amusement. Slade Wilson makes his way into the cafeteria of the prison, carrying his unconscious daughter in his arms. He looks at all of the dead bodies that are scattered across the cafeteria.
Seems like I've missed quite a lot.
Yeah, you missed the whole party.
Slade turns and sees Jason Todd sitting at one of the cafeteria tables, letting his right knee rest.
Ah, I see that you managed to survive.
Yeah, those other two a-holes with you survived too. They both went further into the prison. How about you go join them? I'm a little busy at the moment.
Busy? It doesn't look like it.
Oh, I'm just letting my right knee heal a little, is all. Not everyone has magical restoration powers like you do.
Yeah, fair enough. Mind if I ask what you're going to do after you let your knee heal?
Isn't it obvious? I'm going after those guys.
I should have guessed as much. You have turned out to be quite the hero. I'm sure Batman would be very proud of you if he was here.
Yeah, I fucking doubt it. He would just be giving me shit about something, I imagine.
Fathers have a difficult time expressing their pride in their children. It's just one of the many mistakes that I have made throughout my life. Even when a father doesn't say that he's proud of his children, that doesn't mean that he isn't. It just means that the father doesn't want to show a weaker side of himself to his children.
That's a nice speech, old man.
Slade, sadly, glances down at his daughter, who is still unconscious.
There's no point in you going after those two, especially in the shape you're in right now. You'll just get yourself killed.
So what? Not like anyone would fucking care if a bastard like me died.
Actually, I can think of at least one. How about you do me a favor instead? Don't worry, it'll still allow you to play the part of the hero.
Dude, what are you talking about?
I would like you to take my daughter and leave this prison immediately.
Why don't you take your own daughter and leave this prison?
I can't leave those other two behind. I wouldn't feel right about doing that. A good father would probably carry his daughter out of this prison and leave the other two behind. Unfortunately, I'm not a good father. Despite that, I still love her and want her to survive. And if I can prevent another young person who has their whole life ahead of them to leave this prison as well, that won't be such a bad thing.
A real hero wouldn't listen to a criminal like you and would go after those other two without a second thought. I don't really consider myself a hero. I actually value my own life, and personally, I don't feel like dying today. I'm sure the bat will be mad at me, but I'll do what you want. Only because it gives me an excuse to ditch this place.
Can you stand and carry my daughter in your condition?
Jason stands up from the cafeteria table that he's sitting at, makes his way over to Slade, and takes Slade's daughter from him. Jason is now carrying Slade's daughter, Rose Wilson, in his arms.
Even though it probably means nothing to you. Thank you for doing this for me.
Jason smiles, still not wearing his red hood mask that has blood all over it.
Try not to get yourself killed, old man. Or do. I don't really care.
Jason looks down at Rose and realizes that she looks incredibly similar to Slade.
I'll get her out of here, I promise.
Slade makes his way past Jason as he notices that some of Slade's wounds haven't fully healed yet. Jason almost says something about Slade's wounds that haven't fully healed yet, but he stops himself, allowing Slade to leave the cafeteria through the double doors that lead further into the prison. Meanwhile, inside of the briefing room of the prison, Michael Dubois is pointing his pistol at Amanda Waller's head while she's deactivating the collars that are around Slade Wilson's, Floyd Lawton's, Robert Dubois', and Adrian Chase's necks, using a tablet that's in her hands.
How much longer will this take?
Waller smiles.
It would be a damn shame if I accidentally activated the collars to explode instead of deactivating them because you're rushing me.
Don't fucking test me. I'm not in the mood for jokes.
Waller's smile leaves her face, and she sighs in disappointment.
You're no fun.
Waller continues to type away on the tablet that's in her hands. After a few more moments, Waller stops typing on the tablet and looks up at Michael.
There, the collars are deactivated. Are you happy now?
You really expect me to believe a word out of your fucking mouth at face value? Let me see the tablet.
Waller rolls her eyes in annoyance and slides the tablet over to Michael across the floor. Michael squats down to pick up the tablet while still aiming his pistol at Waller's head. Michael picks up the tablet with one hand while still aiming his pistol at Waller's head with his other hand. Michael stands back up and takes a glance at the tablet. He sees a lot of information that he doesn't understand on the tablet, but is able to make out 4 names from the information on the tablet, one of which is his brother's name. Next to the 4 names is the word deactivated.
Seems like you weren't lying.
Well, I suppose now that that's all taken care of, you're going to kill me now, or what?
Yep. You got any last words, you psychotic bitch?
Waller smiles.
Having last words usually indicates that a person has lingering regrets. This may come as a surprise to you, but I don't have any regrets. I've done what I've had to in order to succeed in this world. If it's my time to die, then so be it.
Before Michael can shoot Waller in the head, the 2 doors that lead into the briefing room are opened. Floyd Lawton and Robert Dubois make their way inside of the room. This causes Waller to smile. The 2, who have just entered the briefing room, turn their attention to Waller and Michael. Michael turns around to look at the 2. Robert is speechless after realizing that his brother is the ghost. Michael turns his attention back to Waller.
You 2 don't have to be here. Your collars have already been deactivated. Waller no longer has any control over you 2, or the other 2 criminals. Just leave her to me. I'll make sure that she's properly taken care of.
Is that right?
Floyd begins attempting to remove the explosive collar around his neck and is surprised that it comes off without any trouble. Floyd tosses the explosive collar onto the floor. Floyd notices that Robert isn't trying to take his explosive collar off and is, instead, staring at Michael, speechless. Floyd looks at Robert in confusion.
Are you going to take that explosive color off, or are you just going to keep wearing it as an accessory or something?
Robert ignores Floyd and makes his way towards Michael, still not saying anything. Michael turns his attention towards Robert after hearing the sound of footsteps approaching him. Once Robert is right beside Michael, he stops walking and continues to stare at Michael without speaking. Michael sighs.
I suppose you're pretty mad at me, huh? I can't say I blame you. I wouldn't even blame you if you wanted to kill me. But do me a favor and at least wait until after I kill this bitch.
To his surprise, instead of attacking him, Robert puts a hand on Michael's shoulder. Robert laughs to himself, sadly.
I know I've become quite the piece of shit, but you really think that after learning that the brother I've thought was dead for so long is alive that I would kill him? I don't know if any of this is real or if my mind is just completely fucked at this point. But if it is true, then I couldn't be any happier that you're alive, Michael. I'm so sorry I left for Canada.
Michael smiles.
Yeah, that was pretty fucked up of you.
Floyd makes his way towards both of the Dubois brothers. He stops once he's right next to them.
Based on what I just heard, you two are brothers? Who would have thought that such a heartfelt reunion would happen at a time like this? I hate to interrupt this touching reunion, but what exactly are we gonna do about the insane woman standing across from us?
Floyd, Michael, and Robert all turn their attention towards Waller.
I understand that you want to be the one to kill Waller, Michael, but you have to realize that you aren't the only one who wants to kill her.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind killing her myself for all of the bullshit she puts me through.
Are you dumbasses seriously arguing over who gets to kill Amanda? I'm hurt that you wouldn't include me in that discussion.
Floyd, Michael, Robert, and Waller all turn to face Slade Wilson, who is making his way towards them, still extremely wounded. Floyd notices that Slade's wounds aren't healing quickly, but doesn't say anything.
Shit, old-timer. I didn't even hear you come in.
I may be an old-timer, but I'm still an assassin, and an assassin is supposed to move quiet, right?
Are you alright, man? You look like shit.
Yes, I'm fine. Honestly, I'm just happy that I was able to make it out of a fight with my daughter in one piece. Especially since she wasn't in her right mind.
One piece, huh?
Slade notices that Floyd is looking at all of the unhealed wounds on Slade's body. Slade smiles sadly.
Well, mostly in one piece, I should say.
Slade stops walking once he's standing beside Floyd, Robert, and Michael. Slade, Floyd, Robert, and Michael turn to face Waller, who, despite the situation she finds herself in, is smiling.
We all finished then. The gang's all back together. I didn't want to interrupt.
How considerate of you.
I hate to disappoint all of you, but killing isn't going to solve anything. I'll just be replaced. Who knows? The person they replace me with could be an even shittier person than me. No matter which one of you ends up killing me, it won't change a fucking thing. None of you will get anything out of it.
Yeah, you might be right about that, but you're wrong about one thing.
And what's that?
Robert smiles.
It'll make us feel a hell of a lot better.
Waller's expression changes to a scowl at Robert's comment.
For a second there, I forgot who I was dealing with. You aren't heroes who want to take me down for the betterment of the world or anything like that. All you are just a bunch of scumbag criminals. You all just want to kill me because it'll make you feel better. How fucking stupid.
Waller grins.
That's okay, though. They should be arriving just about now.
Robert, Michael, Floyd, and Slade all look at Waller in confusion.
Who's they? What the hell are you talking about?
Waller doesn't answer Michael's question and just continues to smile mischievously. Meanwhile, on a small hill that overlooks Belle Reef Prison, Jason Todd is carrying Rose Wilson while doing his best to ignore the pain in his right knee and the pain from his other injuries.
I can't believe I got stuck carrying a fucking criminal to safety while letting a bunch of other criminals handle their own business. The pain that I'm feeling right now is nothing compared to the fucking headache that I'm going to get from hearing this bat's bitching. Oh well, there's no point in dreading that now. I need to focus on getting away from that damn prison.
All of a sudden, Jason hears loud engines in the distance and turns around to see what's causing all of the noise. A bunch of armored trucks are driving towards Belle Reef Prison. They stop when they are at the front gate of the prison. A huge number of armed men exit the vehicles, all equipped with various weapons.
That looks pretty bad. Those must be backup or something. Shit, I doubt those dumbass criminals know anything about this. I should probably warn them.
Jason looks at Rose, who he's carrying in his arms, and sighs to himself.
Nah, I can't do that. I promised that old geezer that I would get this chick to safety. I may be a shitty superhero, but I'm sure as hell no liar.
Jason takes one more glance at Belle Reef Prison that's behind him.
I hope those criminals are ready for one hell of a fucking skirmish.
Jason looks away from Belle Reve Prison and continues to make his way away from the prison while still carrying Rose in his arms. Meanwhile, inside of the briefing room of Belle Reve Prison, Michael Dubois is still pointing his pistol at Amanda Waller, while Slade Wilson, Robert Dubois, and Floyd Lawton stand next to Michael.
I asked you a goddamn question. You better answer it before I lose my fucking patience.
Waller is smiling mischievously, not bothered by Michael's threats.
Answer me!
Rather than replying to Michael, Waller makes a way towards Michael, Floyd, Robert, and Slade slowly.
Even if you four dumb fucks kill me, it won't change the fact that the four of you won't be leaving this prison alive. I have cameras installed all over this prison. I was already well aware that Flag, his special little team, and the other prison guards were killed. Well before you even entered this room, Michael, I made sure to make a little call.
A call for backup, I presume?
Well, aren't you quick on the uptake, Gramps? Enough armed men are already here to dispose of you four, so I have nothing to worry about. I might die today, but so will you four. That's enough for me. To be honest, I would like to take at least one of you fuckers with me.
Waller pulls out a pistol and points it at Michael, but before she can fire a shot, Michael shoots Waller's hand that's holding the pistol, causing her to drop it. She falls to her knees, holding her bloodied hand in pain.
You've taken enough lives with that hand.
Waller gets up off of her knees and recklessly charges towards Michael without a weapon. She screams at the top of her lungs in anger. Robert calmly takes the pistol from Michael and points the pistol at Waller's left foot. He fires the pistol, and a bullet blasts through Waller's left foot, causing her to tumble onto her stomach.
A monster like you doesn't deserve to run to her grave. I'd personally rather see you hobble.
Waller's body trembles with rage as blood from both her hand and foot wounds drip onto the floor under her. She ignores the pain from both of the wounds and slowly picks herself up off of the floor. She hobbles her way towards Slade, Robert, Michael, and Floyd with a look of pure hatred in her eyes. Slade draws his sword from its sheath. As soon as Waller is close enough, he slashes both of her eyes horizontally with his sword. Waller falls onto her knees, both of her eyes bloodied from the strike. She screams in pain and anger.
I didn't like that look in your eyes. Plus, I believe that you've looked down on enough people with those eyes, Miss Waller.
It's Mrs. Waller, you old bastard. Ugh. Always be Mrs. Waller, even when my husband is gone.
Why does everyone feel the need to call me old all the time? I understand that I am, but it's still hurtful.
Hey, old man, mind if I borrow that sword real quick?
Slade looks at Floyd, annoyed.
Did you not hear what I just said?
Can you take a joke?
Slade sighs in disappointment.
Why do you want to borrow my sword?
It's just that I've always thought that your sword looked badass, and I kinda just want to use it once. Please.
Slade hands Floyd the sword, and Floyd takes it eagerly. He smiles once the sword is in his hands. He makes his way towards Waller, who is struggling to pick herself up off of the floor.
You all are going to fucking die. Do you hear me? Every single one of you are going to fucking die in this prison. That thought alone makes all of this pain worth it. I'll be waiting for all four of you in hell.
Before Waller can speak another word, Floyd slashes the sword that he's holding horizontally at the right side of Waller's neck and completely decapitates her. Waller's detached head rolls onto the floor next to her headless body. The headless body falls over onto the floor next to the head. A large pool of blood forms under both the decapitated head of Waller and her headless body.
I told you not to lose your head, but it seems a little late for that, huh? Hold on. Do you guys hear that?
Nothing but silence can be heard in the briefing room.
Peace and fucking quiet. Damn, it feels good, knowing that I'm never gonna have to hear Miss Waller's annoying-ass voice again.
Floyd, Slade, Robert, and Michael all laugh at Floyd's comment.
Is something the matter, Robert?
I was just thinking that we all gotta get some payback against this woman. Although, I can't help but wonder whatever happened to that one guy.
Huh? Who are you talking about?
You must be referring to the fourth criminal that was with us when we were originally briefed on our mission to take out the Ghost by Waller. I can't seem to remember what his name was, though.
Was this other criminal really that forgettable?
Oh, I remember now. Wasn't his name Vigilante or something like that?
Well, wherever he is, I hope that he's enjoying his freedom, since his explosive color should be deactivated now, just like ours are.
Meanwhile, Commissioner James Gordon is making his way down an alley in Gotham City. One other police detective is walking next to him. Gordon takes a sip of the coffee from the cup that's in his right hand. He continues to make his way down the alley, while the other detective follows next to him.
This is your first day working as a detective, right?
Yes, sir. I'm so honored that I get to shadow you for the day.
I just hope that your first crime scene that you'll be visiting as a detective won't be too unsightly for you.
Oh, don't worry, sir. I have a stomach of steel.
That's good to hear. Seeing detectives puke at their first crime scene is something that I never like seeing.
Gordon and the detective reach the end of the alley, which opens up to a large space surrounded by buildings on all sides, except for the way that Gordon and the detective came from. Gordon and the detective crouch down. They move under the yellow caution tape that's blocking the crime scene from the public before standing back up straight again. Gordon and the detective stop when they see the corpse of Adrian Chase with cat feces all over it. The smell from the body is enough to make the detective puke. Gordon looks over at the detective, who is now throwing up. Gordon sighs to himself in disappointment.
Well, shit.
Gordon turns to face Chase's corpse.
Literally.
Gordon waits for the detective to finish throwing up next to him. Slade Wilson, Floyd Lawton, Robert Dubois, and Michael Dubois are standing inside of the briefing room of Belle Reve Prison.
Well, based on what Waller was saying before she met a very tragic end, we're probably going to be having company here soon.
Quite a bit of company from the way she made it sound.
Any of you got any weapons to spare? I don't really have shit to use. If there are a bunch of armed guys coming to kill us, I'd at least like to go out fighting.
I haven't used any of my guns since arriving here at the prison. I can.
You actually don't have to do that.
Michael makes his way towards Waller's headless corpse. He crouches down and begins checking her pants pockets. In the right side pocket of Waller's pants, Michael finds what he's looking for and pulls it out of the pocket. It's a key card.
A key card?
Michael stands back up and begins walking to a door that's on the far right side of the briefing room.
This key card should be able to get us into any room in this entire prison. Lucky for us, I studied this prison's blueprints for days. The room that we're looking for should be...
Michael stops once he's standing in front of the door that's on the far right side of the briefing room.
Right here.
Michael holds up the key card to a panel that has a scanner on it, which is right next to the door that Michael is standing in front of. The panel lights up green, and the door that Michael is standing in front of becomes unlocked. Michael opens the door, and the other three that are in the room follow him through the unlocked door. The unlocked door leads to a small armory. Once Slade, Floyd, Robert, and Michael are all inside the armory, they smile to themselves.
This is quite the find. We should probably hurry, though, since I doubt we have much time before our company arrives.
Slade, Floyd, Robert, and Michael begin looking around the armory, deciding on what they should equip themselves with. The double doors that lead to Belle Reve Prison's briefing room are kicked open by a man wearing riot gear and equipped with an assault rifle. Standing behind this man are a large number of individuals wearing the same riot gear that he is. All of the individuals dressed in the riot gear are armed with a variety of weapons. A few of the armed individuals enter the briefing room, and one of them accidentally steps on a landmine. When the individual's foot lifts from the landmine, there's a loud explosion. Several of the armed individuals' body parts are sent flying from the explosion, and blood splatters all over some of the walls of the briefing room.
Shit! Contact!
The armed individuals turn the flashlight attachments that are on their weapons on before they enter the briefing room. All of the lights are off in the briefing room, making it difficult for the armed individuals to see what's around them, even with the flashlight attachments on their weapons.
Watch your step. There's probably more traps.
The large number of armed individuals begin to carefully search the briefing room while trying their best to keep an eye out for any more traps. All of a sudden, the lights are turned on in the briefing room, which startles all of the armed individuals. Standing in front of all of the armed individuals at the front end of the room are Slade Wilson, Floyd Lawton, Robert Dubois, and Michael Dubois. Robert Dubois is aiming an RPG at all of the armed individuals.
Shit! Move!
Robert fires the RPG at the armed individuals and manages to blow up several of them in the process. The rest of the armed individuals who weren't caught in the blast begin firing their weapons at Slade, Floyd, Robert, and Michael without any hesitation. Slade, Floyd, Robert, and Michael disperse, each heading in their own direction in an attempt to dodge all of the bullets that are being fired at them. Slade equips his 2 submachine guns and begins returning fire at the armed individuals. Slade is able to take out 2 of the armed individuals this way. Michael takes out a grenade, pulls the pin on it, and throws it at a couple of armed individuals who are huddled together. Unfortunately, a bullet blasts through Michael's right shoulder. Michael falls onto his back and holds his right shoulder in pain.
Fuck, that hurts.
To his surprise, Robert rushes past him towards several of the armed individuals. Robert is holding a shotgun in his hands. Several bullets hit the armor Robert is wearing, and one of the bullets is able to penetrate the armor that's protecting Robert's chest. Robert pays no mind to the wound, and once he is close enough to one of the armed individuals, he aims his shotgun at their head, which is covered by a riot gear helmet. Robert blows the armed individual's head off, showing the riot gear helmet is no match for a close-range shotgun blast. Robert charges and blows the heads off of several more of the armed individuals with his shotgun, while more and more bullets make contact with the armor that he's wearing. Michael smiles to himself.
Crazy bastard. Doesn't he realize he's going to get himself killed? I guess he doesn't really care at this point. Hell, I can't say I care if I die at this point either.
In the corner of his eye, Michael sees an armed individual rushing towards him with their assault rifle pointed at him.
Be that as it may though, it's still too early for me to die. I haven't killed enough of these assholes yet.
The armed individual who is rushing towards Michael fires their assault rifle at him, but Michael rolls out of the way, equips a revolver in each of his hands, and returns fire at the armed individual's head. One of the bullets fired from Michael's revolvers manages to blast through the eye covering of the armed individual, who's rushing his riot gear helmet. This is enough to kill the armed individual. Before he has time to catch his breath, Michael is tackled to the floor by another armed individual. The armed individual thrusts a combat knife towards Michael's head. Michael shields his head with his left arm. The combat knife stabs Michael in the left arm. Michael ignores the pain of being stabbed in the left arm and uses his right hand to aim one of his revolvers at the left side of the armed individual's neck. Michael fires the revolver that's in his right hand, and a bullet penetrates the left side of the armed individual's neck and then blasts out of the right side of the armed individual's neck, killing him. The corpse of the armed individual falls forward on top of Michael. Michael notices more armed individuals coming his way, and he gets an idea. Michael uses the corpse of the armed individual that he has just killed as a human shield to protect him from the bullets that are fired at him by the pursuing armed individuals. Bullets blast through the already dead armed individual that Michael is using as a human shield. Michael, ignoring the combat knife that's still stuck in his left arm, begins returning fire at the pursuing armed individuals with his 2 revolvers. Meanwhile, Floyd throws a throwing knife at one of the armed individuals that are firing at him. The throwing knife breaks the riot gear helmet's right eye covering of the armed individual and stabs the armed individual in the right eye, killing them instantly. The armed individual, who has just been killed, falls forward, while the 4 more armed individuals continue firing their weapons at Floyd. Floyd rolls out of the way, but some of the bullets bounce off of the body armor that he's wearing. Floyd takes cover behind the first row of seats that are inside of the briefing room. A barrage of bullets blast through the first row of seats of the briefing room that Floyd is taking cover behind. Floyd gets out 4 more throwing knives and throws all 4 of them at the armed individuals who are firing at him. All 4 of the throwing knives break through the riot gear helmets, right eye coverings of the armed individuals and stabs all 4 of the armed individuals who are firing at Floyd in the right eye, killing all 4 of them at once. All 4 of the armed individuals, now dead, fall onto the floor lifelessly.
Whether it's bullets or knives, I never miss my...
Before Floyd can finish his statement, a grenade falls right next to him. Before the grenade goes off, he rushes towards it, picks it up, and throws it back at the armed individual who threw it at him. The grenade blows up the armed individual, causing their body parts and a good amount of blood to be sent flying everywhere.
Damn, you fucking guys are relentless, aren't you? Waller must have been paying you good to kill us.
Floyd is rammed in the back of the head with an assault rifle, causing him to fall forward onto the floor of the briefing room. He looks up, and behind him, an armed individual is pointing their assault rifle at Floyd's head. Before the armed individual is able to shoot Floyd in the head, they are decapitated in gruesome fashion. The headless corpse and the head of the armed individual flop onto the floor of the briefing room. Slade, the one responsible for decapitating the armed individual and saving Floyd, offers Floyd a hand. Floyd chuckles to himself. He takes Slade's hand and Slade helps Floyd up to his feet.
I don't believe this is a good time to be wondering how much Waller paid these gentlemen to kill us.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks for the save, man.
Slade sheathes his sword and draws his 2 submachine guns, while Floyd equips a scoped sniper rifle. Slade looks at Floyd in surprise.
I'm not too sure how useful a long-range weapon will be in a situation like this.
Floyd smiles confidently.
Have you ever played video games before?
Never.
Well then, pay close attention. I learned this technique from a video game. Believe it or not, it's called quick scoping.
Before Slade can ask Floyd what quick scoping is, Floyd dashes towards some of the armed individuals that are pursuing him and Slade. Once Floyd is close enough to one of the armed individuals, he quickly holds up the scope of his sniper rifle to his right eye and fires the sniper just as quickly. A bullet leaves the sniper rifle and blasts right through the riot gear helmet of the armed individual he's targeting and takes off a 1/4 of the armed individual's skull in the process, killing them instantly. What Floyd had just done was a quick scope. Floyd feels some bullets making contact with the body armor that he's wearing, and he turns around to face one of the armed individuals who are firing at him. He ducks down so that some of the bullets fly right over him and quickscopes the armed individual he is now facing. This results in another perfect headshot and another armed individual losing a 1/4 of their head. The armed individual falls onto the floor lifelessly. Floyd still feels bullets hitting his combat armor, and one of the bullets actually manages to break through the combat armor. A bullet enters the right side of the middle of Floyd's back. Floyd does his best to ignore the pain, turns around again, and quickscopes the armed individual who is firing at him. The bullet that leaves Floyd's sniper rifle smashes through the armed individual's riot gear helmet and takes off a 1/4 of the armed individual's skull, killing them. The armed individual lifelessly flops onto the floor of the briefing room. Floyd turns around and gives Slade a thumbs up despite having a bullet in the right side of the middle of his back. Slade chuckles to himself in amusement.
That was quite impressive. Although I'm sure that bullet that's stuck in the right other side of the middle of your back is hurting pretty bad right about now.
Floyd pretends like the bullet wound isn't hurting him.
Nah, just a little scratch, that's all.
Slade observes that more armed individuals are aiming their weapons at Floyd since his back is turned to them. Slade dashes towards Floyd at incredible speed and leaps over him. Slade aims his 2 submachine guns at the armed individuals and begins firing at their necks. Bullets blast through the necks of all of the armed individuals that are aiming their weapons at Floyd, killing them all before one of them can pull the trigger of their weapon. All of the armed individuals who were aiming their weapons at Floyd fall onto the floor of the briefing room dead. Slade lands gracefully on his feet. Floyd turns around and looks at all of the armed individuals that Slade had just taken out effortlessly in shock.
I knew they were behind me. I just wanted to leave some enemies for you, that's all.
Slade turns to face Lawton and smiles.
How considerate of you.
Floyd scratches the back of his neck with one of his hands awkwardly.
In all seriousness, thanks.
You have a daughter to get back to, correct? I wouldn't want to be the one to let our father die on the battlefield. A daughter's wrath can be a brutal thing, can't it?
Haha, yeah, you're right about that.
Slade and Floyd notice that a couple more armed individuals have turned their attention towards them. Slade and Floyd prepare themselves for combat. On the other side of the room, Michael and Robert are still firing their weapons at approaching armed individuals.
Shit, there's no end to these bastards.
Sure as hell seems that way.
Robert notices a very large armed individual enter the room, carrying a grenade launcher in their hands. The large armed individual is wearing even more armor than the other armored individuals. The individual points his grenade launcher at Robert and Michael. Michael is still on the floor of the briefing room, firing his revolvers at approaching armed individuals, unaware of the large armed individual who has just entered the briefing room. The large armed individual fires several grenades towards Robert and Michael. Realizing that Michael isn't in any shape to move, Robert dashes towards the 4 grenades that land right in front of Michael and Robert. Before Robert can pick up the 4 grenades and toss them away, 4 more grenades land in the same exact spot. Robert begins to panic, realizing that there's too many grenades to throw away at this point. Not knowing what else to do, Robert gathers all of the grenades together in a small pile and lays on top of the pile of grenades, doing his best to shield Michael from the explosion.
Robert, what the fuck are you doing?
The pile of grenades that Robert is lying stomach first on goes off, and there's a huge explosion. Robert's body is completely blown apart in front of Michael. Michael is sent flying backwards from the explosion. Michael lands back first onto the floor of the briefing room, his ears ringing from the loud explosion. He forces his eyes open and sees gray smoke overhead. He coughs and sits up slowly. He looks in the direction of the explosion, and what he sees causes him to feel sick to his stomach with despair. He hunches over and throws up onto the floor of the briefing room. The feeling of despair in his stomach turns to sadness, and he can feel tears running out of his eyes. A 9-year-old Michael Dubois is sitting on a tire swing that's outside of his house. His body is covered in bruises that he got from bullies at his school. His parents are inside of the house, getting upset about Michael's body being covered in bruises. The front door to the Dubois residence is opened, and a 14-year-old Robert Dubois makes his way out of the house. He notices Michael sitting on the tire swing that's in the front yard of the house. Robert shuts the front door of the Dubois residence and makes his way towards Michael. Michael doesn't turn to face him. Robert arrives at where Michael is.
My parents just won't stop yelling in there. I can see why you came out here.
Michael doesn't respond.
I can't really blame them for getting pissed, though. Seeing you covered in bruises pisses me off, too. What the hell, Michael? Why did you let those boys at your school give you those bruises? You should have just kicked their asses. That's what I would have done if they picked on me.
Michael still doesn't respond, and Robert sighs.
Right. You probably already know what I would have done if those boys were bullying me. I always resort to violence. Not you, though. You have a kinder heart than me. Those boys who are picking on you are taking advantage of that, though. They know that you won't hurt them back because you don't like violence or conflict.
It's pathetic. You're so strong, and I'm just so weak. It's embarrassing.
I wouldn't say that you're weak just because you don't like violence. Liking and resorting to violence like I do doesn't really make me strong. I think it takes strength to refrain from resorting to violence, especially when violent things are happening to you. You're strong in your own way, Michael. Hell, sometimes I wish I didn't always resort to violence.
Michael finally turns to face Robert.
Really?
Yeah, really. Don't be so hard on yourself, alright? You don't have to resort to violence if you don't want to, Michael. As long as I'm around, I'll make sure it stays that way too. Although, if you can, try to make sure that I don't let my tendency to resort to violence get me in too much trouble, okay?
Right. I'll try my best. Thanks, Robert. I feel better after talking with you.
Hey, it's no problem. We're brothers. We have to always be there for each other, no matter what, right?
Robert extends out a fist, and Michael smiles at this. Michael gets off of the tire swing, makes his way towards Robert, and bumps Robert's fist with his own.
Right.
Now, let's head back inside and see if we can calm our parents down. Might not be easy to do, though. They're pretty pissed.
Michael and Robert make their way towards the front door to the Dubois residence. In front of Michael Dubois is the scattered body parts and blood of his older brother, Robert Dubois. The sight doesn't get any easier for Michael to look at, no matter how long he stares at it. Michael is so fixated on the gruesome scene in front of him that he's unaware of the surrounding danger. Armed individuals are making their way towards Michael with their weapons pointed at him. Before any of the armed individuals can get a shot off, they are all quick-scoped through the right eye coverings of their riot gear helmets by Floyd Lawton, with bullets having blasted through their right eyes and exiting out of the back of their heads. The armed individuals flop onto the floor of the briefing room, dead. Floyd rushes over to Michael.
Hey, you've got to snap out of it.
He's dead.
I know. I saw what happened to your brother. He saved you, though. The last thing he would want is for you to die, because you're too fixated on his death.
I'm not strong enough. Robert was always the strong one.
I don't know what you're talking about. The ghost that I've seen in action is pretty strong.
The ghost? That's right.
Michael stands up, despite it hurting him incredibly bad to do so.
Michael Dubois might not be strong, but the ghost is.
More armed individuals make their way towards Michael and Floyd.
Seems like we got more company.
What about that bastard who killed Robert?
The two of us need to take care of the other assholes. Here.
Floyd hands Michael 2 submachine guns.
Slade wanted me to give you those.
Michael looks at the submachine guns that he's now holding.
That's awfully nice of him, but how will we defeat that bastard with the grenade launcher without?
Don't worry about that. That old man doesn't need guns to fight.
Floyd points his sniper rifle at the armed individuals in front of him and Michael. Michael points Slade's submachine guns at the armed individuals in front of him and Floyd.
In that case, I'll make sure I put these guns to good use.
Michael and Floyd both begin firing their weapons at the armed individuals in front of them. Meanwhile, on the other side of the briefing room, Slade decapitates 2 armed individuals that are standing next to the large armed individual who is holding a grenade launcher with his sword. Slade swings his sword at the large armed individual who is holding a grenade launcher, but the large armed individual blocks the strike with the grenade launcher.
Seems that weapon can be used defensively too.
The large armed individual uses an impressive amount of strength to push Slade backwards away from them. The large armed individual fires 2 grenades at Slade with their grenade launcher. Without hesitation, Slade kicks both of the grenades back at the large armed individual. Before the 2 grenades can go off, the large armed individual knocks away the 2 grenades with their grenade launcher. The 2 grenades go off at a far enough distance so that they don't have any effect on the large armed individual or Slade.
As fun as this game of grenade hot potato is, I think it's about time that I finish this.
Slade dashes towards the large armed individual who fires several grenades at Slade. Slade pauses for a second, kicks all of the grenades away from him, and continues to dash towards the large armed individual. Slade leaps into the air and horizontally slashes his sword right at the large armed individual's neck. Slade manages to decapitate the large armed individual before they can fire any more grenades. The head of the large armed individual rolls onto the floor of the briefing room. Blood begins to spurt out of the spot on the large individual's body where their head used to be. The headless body falls onto the floor of the briefing room lifelessly. Slade gets some of the blood off of his sword by slashing it to the side.
Well, at least that's taken care of.
Hey, watch out!
Michael rushes over, stands in front of Slade, and begins firing Slade's 2 submachine guns at the armed individuals. who have just entered the briefing room. Among the armed individuals, 2 of them are large and are carrying miniguns. The 2 large, armed individuals point their miniguns at Michael and begin firing. A barrage of bullets blast through Michael's body. Slade leaps over Michael, lands gracefully on his feet, and dashes towards the 2 large armed individuals. Slade leaps into the air and decapitates one of the large armed individuals with his sword. The other large armed individual points their minigun at Slade. Slade pushes off of the body of the armed individual who he's just killed, and this sends him right towards the other large armed individual. Once Slade is close enough, he decapitates the other large armed individual with his sword. Both of the headless corpses of the large armed individuals fall onto the floor of the briefing room a few feet away from the detached heads. The other 4 armed individuals who have just entered the briefing room point their weapons at Slade. Floyd quickscopes the 3rd armed individual in the throat with his sniper rifle, and Slade tackles the 4th armed individual to the briefing room floor. Slade rips off the 4th armed individual's riot gear helmet. Slade snaps the 4th armed individual's neck with his bare hands, killing them. The briefing room is temporarily clear of enemies. Floyd rushes over to Michael, who's lying back first on the floor of the briefing room. Floyd observes that Michael's entire body is riddled with bullet holes. Michael is breathing and is staring at the ceiling of the briefing room that's above him. Blood is pouring out of Michael's mouth. Slade rips his sword out of the armed individual who he threw his sword at's throat and makes his way over to Michael as well. Once he reaches Michael, Slade places his sword in its sheath. So much blood is pouring out of Michael's mouth at this point that it makes it difficult for him to speak.
Fuck. I guess I'll be seeing my older brother soon.
Michael slowly turns to face Slade.
Thanks for letting me borrow your guns, old man.
Michael slowly turns to face Floyd.
Sorry, I wasn't too much help in the end.
Nah, you helped me plenty. It was cool shooting some shit up with ya.
You saved my life. I appreciate that more than you can possibly imagine. Shielding me from all those bullets took a lot of courage. You're a very strong person. Your older brother would be very proud of you.
Strong, huh?
Michael closes his eyes and his breathing stops, letting out one final exhale. Michael dies. Floyd bends down and picks up Slade's 2 submachine guns that Michael is still holding. Once he's got Slade's 2 submachine guns in his hands, Floyd stands back up.
You think we're gonna have any more company?
I imagine so.
In that case, would you mind if I borrow these 2 submachine guns from you? I'm nearly out of ammunition for my sniper.
That won't be necessary.
What the hell are you?
Before Floyd can finish his question, Slade chops Floyd in the back of the neck, which causes Floyd to drop Slade's 2 submachine guns and to fall stomach first onto the floor of the briefing room unconscious. Slade bends down and picks up 2 submachine guns. After his 2 submachine guns are in his hands, he stands back up and puts both of his submachine guns into their holsters. Slade drags Floyd's unconscious body towards some of the corpses of the armed individuals. Slade stops dragging Floyd's unconscious body and proceeds to cover Floyd's unconscious body with the corpse of an armed individual. After he's done, Slade takes a look around the briefing room and sighs to himself, sadly.
I apologize for using violence against you, Lorne, but I'll handle things from here, on my own. After all, you still have people who are waiting for you to return. That's something I wish I still had. I advise you not to take those people for granted. Don't make the same stupid mistake that I've made my entire life. I suppose you can't hear me, can you, Floyd? Since you're unconscious and all, I guess that means I'm just a crazy old man who's talking to himself.
Slade turns to face Floyd's unconscious body that's covered by the corpse of an armed individual.
Just get some well-deserved rest. You fought hard up to this point. I can't make any promises, but I will do everything that I can to make sure that you are able to see your family again.
Slade equips his 2 submachine guns in his hands. All of a sudden, he hears footsteps approaching the briefing room. Slade begins walking away from Floyd's unconscious body that's covered by the corpse of an armed individual, heading towards the 2 open doors that lead into the briefing room. A large number of armed individuals make their way into the briefing room via the 2 open doors that lead into the briefing room with their weapons already equipped. Slade points his submachine guns at them and begins firing, aiming at their necks. Bullets begin to penetrate several of the armed individuals' throats, killing them. All of the armed individuals who haven't been killed yet begin firing their weapons at Slade. Slade doesn't bother finding any cover and chooses to charge the remaining armed individuals while still firing his submachine guns at their throats. Some of the bullets that are being fired from Slade's submachine guns are able to penetrate the throats of some of the armed individuals, killing them. However, some of the bullets that are being fired from the armed individuals' weapons begin making contact with the body armor that Slade is wearing. The closer that Slade gets to the remaining armed individuals who haven't been killed yet, the more bullets begin making contact with his combat armor. Slade runs out of ammunition in his submachine guns. He doesn't waste any time and throws each of his submachine guns at a different armed individual. At this point, Slade has reached the armed individuals who have entered the briefing room. Slade draws his sword. He immediately slashes one of the armed individuals' throats, killing them. Slade feels several bullets make contact with his body armor and feels a bullet actually pierce the back part of his body armor. The same bullet enters the small of his back. Slade ignores the pain that he's now feeling in the small of his back. Slade proceeds to slash the throats of 4 more armed individuals who are firing their weapons at him, killing them. There are 3 armed individuals remaining inside of the briefing room, and they are all firing their weapons at Slade. Bullets are still making contact with Slade's body armor. 2 more bullets manage to pierce through the chest portion of his combat armor. The 2 bullets enter Slade's chest, causing him to stumble backwards a bit. Slade does his best to ignore the pain from the 2 bullets entering his chest and charges towards the 3 remaining armed individuals who are still firing their weapons at him. Slade decapitates one of the armed individuals with a horizontal strike of his sword. He flings blood from his sword into the eye covering of a riot gear helmet worn by one of the armed individuals, blinding them. Slade slashes this armed individual's throat with his sword while they are blinded, leaving 1 armed individual remaining in the briefing room. Slade stabs the throat of the last armed individual that's inside of the briefing room with his sword, killing them. Slade rips his sword out of the last armed individual that's inside of the briefing room's throat. The last armed individual that's inside of the briefing room's dead body falls onto the floor. Slade begins breathing heavily, exhausted from the combat that he was just engaged in. Slade notices that all of the wounds that he had just received are not only still hurting, but aren't healing. Slade falls to his knees, feeling weak.
It seems that my regenerative ability is no longer working at all. It's about damn time. Maybe I won't have to suffer through this life of mine for any longer. However,
despite the pain he's feeling, Slade forces himself to stand up.
There's still one last thing that I would like to do before my life comes to an end.
Slade's grip around his sword tightens as he hears more footsteps approaching the briefing room. Slade readies himself for more combat. The footsteps that Slade hears gets closer, and he sees a large group of armed individuals approaching from the hallway that leads to the briefing room. Rather than waiting for the armed individuals to arrive at the briefing room, Slade charges out of the briefing room towards the armed individuals. Slade rushes towards the group of armed individuals that are making their way to the briefing room of Belle Reve Prison. He notices that 2 of the armed individuals are large in size, have more body armor than the other armed individuals, and are carrying miniguns. Slade decides to take on these 2 larger armed individuals first. As soon as the armed individuals realize that Slade is approaching them, they begin firing their weapons at him. A barrage of bullets fly towards Slade, Slade. Slade does his best to deflect some of the bullets with his sword, but a large amount of the bullets make contact with his body armor. Several of the bullets are able to penetrate Slade's body armor in various parts and are able to enter Slade's body in various parts, causing Slade to slow down a bit. He does his best to ignore the pain from the bullets that have just entered his body and still charges towards the group of armed individuals who are still firing their weapons at him. Once he's close enough, Slade leaps into the air and decapitates one of the large armed individuals with his sword. Unfortunately, while he's still in mid-air, the other large armed individual points their minigun at Slade. The minigun starts spinning and begins firing a large amount of bullets at Slade. Slade is only able to deflect a couple of the bullets with his sword while still in mid-air. The rest of the bullets make contact with his body armor. Most of the bullets penetrate various parts of Slade's body armor and are able to enter various parts of Slade's body, causing him an incredible amount of pain. Slade forces himself to ignore the pain, and while still in mid-air, he throws his sword at the large armed individual who is firing their minigun at him's throat. The sword stabs the large armed individual in the throat, killing them. This leaves Slade without a weapon, though. Slade lands on his feet and finds that he's surrounded by the other armed individuals. They all point their weapons at the severely wounded Slade. Slade quickly reaches for his bowstaff that hasn't been assembled yet, but unfortunately, the armed individuals that are all surrounding Slade begin firing their weapons at Slade without hesitation. A large barrage of bullets make contact with Slade's damaged body armor. Nearly all of the bullets pierce through various parts of Slade's body armor. The same bullets enter through various parts of Slade's body. Slade's entire body becomes limp and he falls to his knees. Slade takes off his mask so that he's able to cough up a large amount of blood onto the floor. He begins panting heavily and looks at the armed individuals that are surrounding him and who are still pointing their weapons at him. Slade laughs to himself in amusement and thinks to himself for a moment. Then he, once again, reaches for his bowstaff that hasn't been assembled yet, and the surrounding armed individuals begin firing their weapons at him again. Even more bullets make contact with Slade's damaged body armor, and all of the bullets are able to penetrate various parts of Slade's body armor. The same bullets enter various parts of Slade's body. After Slade's entire body has been riddled with bullet holes, Slade smiles to himself.
Not even trying to aim for my head, huh? Was that part of the orders that Mrs. Waller gave you? That woman truly was cruel.
The life leaves Slade's eyes and he falls forward onto the floor in a pool of his own blood, dead. The remaining armed individuals make their way towards Slade Wilson's corpse with their weapons still aimed at his dead body.
I think he's finally dead.
That order from Waller about no headshots.
Another one of the remaining armed individuals crouches down and studies Slade's wounds closely. After thoroughly studying the wounds covering Slade's body and checking to see if Slade has a pulse, the armed individual stands up and begins to speak.
He's dead.
Let's check the rest of the prison.
The remaining armed individuals make their way towards the briefing room of Belle Reeve Prison, leaving Slade's corpse behind. Among the corpses of those armed individuals is Floyd Lawton, who opens his eyes. He realizes that an armed individual's corpse is laying on top of him, and he pushes the corpse off of him. Floyd stands up and glances around the briefing room.
Do I believe in happy endings? I remember my daughter Rose asking me this question when she was young. At the time, I told her that I didn't. I told her that happy endings was something that fools believed in. I remember my wife, Adeline, getting very upset at me for my answer. Although my wife's reaction wasn't what surprised me the most at the time. It was my daughter's response. She replied with, "You're wrong, Daddy." I remember being at a complete loss for words when she replied with that.
Floyd walks past all of the dead bodies in the briefing room and makes his way towards the double doors that lead out of the room. Floyd opens the doors and leaves. Floyd makes his way down the hallway that leads to the briefing room and notices Slade's corpse laying on the floor. Floyd looks at Slade's corpse sadly and sighs to himself. Floyd then looks at the corpses of the armed individuals that are around Slade's corpse. Floyd smiles to himself.
Perhaps my daughter was right all those years ago. Maybe happy endings do exist, just not for everyone. I don't think it has anything to do with some people deserving happy endings and some others not deserving them. I just think that happy endings exist for some people, good or bad, but not for everyone. In my opinion, you don't have to be a good person to get a happy ending, and you don't have to be a bad person to get a bad ending. Everyone's ending is different, and if me getting a bad ending can lead to someone else getting their happy ending, then that would be just fine with me.
Floyd takes one final glance at Slade's corpse and then chooses to look straight ahead. Floyd begins walking away from Slade's corpse in the direction of the prison's entrance. Floyd Lawton, no longer wearing his Deadshot combat armor and now wearing normal clothes, is standing in front of the front door to the Lawton residence. His face is covered with bruises and cuts. He rings the doorbell and waits for someone to answer the front door. Eventually, his wife Susan Lawton opens the front door. Floyd forces a smile on his face, despite how badly it hurts him to do so. Susan sighs and shakes her head in disappointment at how hurt her husband looks. Floyd's daughter Zoe notices him while standing behind her mother. Susan moves out of the way so that Zoe can run up to her father and give him a hug. Floyd gives Zoe a hug too and looks up at his wife. Susan doesn't say anything but smirks at the sight of Floyd and Zoe hugging each other. Susan motions her husband to come inside of the house. Floyd and Zoe release their hugs. Floyd and Zoe make their way into the Lawton residence, and Susan shuts the front door to the Lawton residence behind them. Rose Wilson slowly opens her eyes and realizes that she's staring at what looks like the inside of a cave. She's lying on an operating table. Rose sits up on the operating table and notices that she's covered in bandages, meaning that her injuries had already been treated, even though treating her injuries wasn't important, since they are already all of the way healed because of her regenerative abilities.
Where am I? What is this?
She takes a look around the cave that she's in and notices that she's not just in a cave. She's in a cave that's been turned into a hideout of some kind. A hideout equipped with an insane amount of technology. After thinking for a few moments, she realizes that she's in the Batcave. Rose eventually sees that both Jason Todd and Barbara Gordon are staring at her. Barbara has her arms crossed, almost like she's displeased with something, and Jason just has a sad smile on his face. Rose debates asking them why the two of them bothered patching her up, or if the police are on their way, but chooses not to. Instead, Rose gets up off of the operating table and makes her way out of the Batcave.
Thanks, I guess.
As soon as Rose has exited the Batcave, Barbara turns her attention to Jason and gives him an annoyed look, wondering why he let Rose just walk out of the Batcave.
You really think this was the best thing to do?
If not, I'll deal with it.
It's now nighttime in Gotham City, and Rose is making her way through the mostly empty streets of the city. She ponders to herself why Jason and Barbara allowed her to just leave the Batcave. Eventually, she stops thinking about this, not being able to figure out why they would do such a thing. Rose stops and looks up at the night sky, which is full of stars. She can't help but smile, remembering all of the times that she stargazed with her family when she was younger. Rose's smile slowly fades away as she wonders if her father is looking at the same starry sky wherever he is at that moment. That concludes Bounty, a Knight's Kingdom Media audio series, based on characters by DC Comics, directed and produced by Timothy Yakoubek, written by McChuck Writing, with additional story input and editing by Timothy Yakoubek, editing, sound design, and music supervision by Christian Rosas, Julia Drake, and Sergio. Original main title theme composed by Groznik. Art direction by Panda Zombie. Casting by Timothy Yakoubek. Starring the voices of Brandon Sum, Diane Patel, Xander Watson, Marla Rose, Gabriel Sealing, Kay Rowland, Alec M. Whitaker, M.K. Hewitt, Austin Hammett, Christian Zymet, Joe Agostinaki, Leo Kesrovich, Justice Margowski, Lucas Santiago, Ray Sensei, Solus Spartan, John Corcoran, Lonnie, Peyton Tulos, Thane Bell, Stephen Sobot, Derek Alvarez, Edie, Rebecca Didigan, Jared Emerson, Ellie Kelly, Elcat, Kyle's Voice, Autumn Lynn, Alex Jewson, Christoph Gray, Jacob Bulmer, Bird on Mike, Brian Nichols, Greg Hutchins, Just Cuervo, Ollie Melancholy, Ross K. Fode, Lori Sways, Chini, Sophia Alexandria, Jonathan Gill, ILY, I suppose, Junipera, Lobo Lido, Aldo Himscoot, Apollo K. Conaway, Colin Coomer, and Leopoldin. For more audio projects like this, please subscribe or follow us on Spotify, and feel free to leave a rating or review on Bounty's IMDb page to give us feedback. Thank you for listening.